Hello and welcome to the Uncalled For. Welcome back. It's been a while. I'm sorry about that, but we're back in business and this is going to be a very special show tonight. And before I let you know who's all with us tonight, I just wanted to let everyone know that this isn't going to be bashing any religion or anything like that. This is just going to be bashing the regime that's causing these issues that are harming these girls, and we're going to be focusing on those issues and what's going on in the country right now and what might be happening. So we're going to try to refrain from bashing any religion. We're just going to bash individuals, which are fair game, I guess you could say. So without further ado, I'm just going to get right around and tell you who's here with us. We've got Mipet 69 with us tonight, DKG Custom. Claire S. Bear is here. Catchin Studios is making a return here as well. We've got Commander 401. Dick Dawson is producing for us tonight. And of course, me, Aimee. So we're going to just jump right in and start talking about what happened and why these protests are happening. First, we have this young woman, Mahsa Amini, who lives in Iran, who basically what happened is she was arrested by the morality police for basically not wearing the hijab correctly. So she got arrested, and while in custody, she was killed. I don't have the paper up right now, but what happened is she was beaten to death in custody and she died. And this brought on all the protests in Iran right now. So that's basically what's happening. Dick, did you want to bring up the first thing for us so we can go ahead and read into it? So
I'd like to ask a very, very quick question for us dumb little bums over here. Is you might want to explain a little bit more about the morality police, because that's not something we have.
Absolutely. See, this is not a Western idea. We don't have anything called the morality police. Basically, they're there to basically police anybody that they think is not dressed correctly or covered up enough or anything like that. And then they have the power to arrest people, and sometimes they're very brutal. And
it's a government. Is it part of the police, or is it separate to the police? And I'm assuming it's still a government run institution.
I believe so. It's a government entity.
Sorry to throw you off, but I thought just
that's okay. No, it's perfectly fine. Go ahead, Claire.
It basically it's like the faction of the political party that is in control now in Iran is much more moralistically controlling and put new laws against sexuality, against women and the people quite a few years ago that it's been going on. And that's when that whole faction called the morality police came into place to enforce those much more rigid requirements for public appearance, for what they can and can't do in regards to students and everything. It's quite bizarre, but it's as if a small faction, like here in America we have it, where a small faction of a religious group may get control politically in power and then change the rules and the regulations to fit their view of things against the popular notion of a country. And Iranians are quite upset about it and have been since 2019, since before, for quite a few years. This is just an escalation, so to speak. But that's the best I can compare it to.
Exactly.
When religion gets involved in politics and things kind of go crazy. And it's not to bash their religious belief. It's just to say that they are a smaller part of that belief and it's hard to enforce. And they are using a very controlling, violent way to do it.
Exactly. It's called the Gasht-e-Harshad. And basically what they are is they're guidance patrols. And we do call them morality police because that's basically what they are. They're a unit of their police forces, and they enforce the laws on Islamic dress code in public is their main concern, I guess. And they've been around since the Islamic Revolution in 1979. So they've been around for a long time. It's just that they've been more, I guess you could say, more forceful in their enforcements since for recent times. So that's basically what they are. Yeah, it's not a good thing. Katzen, you didn't have something?
So apparently, there have been multiple instances of people being killed by these hijab police.
Yes.
Which is what my Persian friends will call them, is the hijab police. Mm-hmm. But what made this particular incident different is that her brother caught it on film, the arrest, and then her injuries in hospital, and she died in hospital. Mm-hmm. And since he caught it on film and he shared it with the Iranian people, this was the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yes.
And because it was so publicly known, and it became international news because her brother caught it on film.
It did, and it contradicted the public opinion. They put out that she died of a heart attack at the hospital from stress, and that she was just arrested. But it contradicted completely what the government had put out about the case, right? Made a big deal.
Indeed.
That was exactly it, too. So yeah, do you want to go ahead and bring up that first article so we can kind of go over that? And absolutely. So Iran's supreme leader breaks silence on protests and blames the U.S. So that's another thing with what they like to do, because of course we all know about all the issues that we've had over the years with U.S. and Iranian relations. They've never been really good, and of course we had the hostage crisis and everything back in the late 70s, early 80s. So it's one of those issues here. So their Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has responded publicly, and he's to the biggest protests in Iran in years, breaking weeks of silence to condemn what he called rioting and accused the United States and Israel of planning the protests. So they're blaming us. They think we're instigating right now. Yeah, like Crazy Cat said, it's always America's fault.
It's always America's fault. Although this time, at least he's throwing Israel in with us. We're not alone. We all got bad control. Yeah.
Exactly. They're throwing us. At least other people are being thrown under the bus. But they've always accused the West, definitely, of this. So
was this the speech he gave today at the university, or was this prior?
This was a few days ago. This was prior. So, yep.
I don't think it's going over very well. From what I've read, there's protests at every one of his speeches. Anybody in power that's trying to talk on this, protests are breaking out all around. And it's leaking everywhere. It's leaking.
It is. It is. It's been amazing so far. And she...
I don't think they're used to that. I think they're used to being able to clamp everything down. When gas prices went up in 2019, which was the last time we saw on the news anything worldwide about protests in Iran, like that were this violent with fires and destruction and things, they actually shut down the internet. They took internet away from the whole country to keep it quiet.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's happened a couple of times, hasn't it?
It has. It absolutely has. Catchin Studios, go ahead.
Actually, they've been doing that this time too. It's periodic. They're not doing it consistently over a long period, but they'll do it for significant hours a day, and it's kind of random the way they're doing it, because I have a handful of friends in Iran who have been checking in from time to time to go, hey, I'm not dead yet, because of the violence that's happening.
Thank you.
Exactly. So Space Wolf had a good comment too. The hacktivist attack on the state-run TV news broadcast was pretty sweet. Right, there were some new things coming in, I guess, that have been happening. So good.
I was going to bring that up, but I was waiting until you were going to get through your article. But yeah, they can't keep it quiet. It's been hacked. Like they actually hacked right into the news with a picture of the Khomeini on fire, and with the picture of the young woman, and with the protest slogan, that women have had enough. It was so, yeah, it was only a few seconds, but that's a big step. I mean,
it's huge. It's huge. And I'm, and that was going to be part of the show tonight too, talking about where we think this is going to go. I think I'm hoping and I'm hopeful that this will help spark some change. They're pretty hard line though, so that's a pretty strong government. They usually do quash anything that comes up, because they've had protests come up before,
right,
within recent years that they've quashed, and it's not good. But I'm hoping this time, since they now have people hacking in, and let's cross our fingers and hope.
It's like the other part of the story is getting told, instead of just hearing that they went against the protesters like they normally do to try to squash people from protesting. They'll say that there was an outburst and 90 people were injured, or which was a couple of days ago, there was a large protest, and the armed forces opened up on the protesters, and later, when it reported, like they report the results and all, like that, it was leaked through the autopsy department that many of them were shot in the back, which kind of took away from the oppression that they were trying to put down to make everybody stay home and not protest. When you say that people are actually getting shot in the back, that means that they were probably disbanding or moving away, or like not coming at you. Like, so why did they get shot? It opens up more questions. They're not doing themselves any favors.
I very much doubt they were moonwalking towards the protest.
Exactly.
Right.
So it kind of feeds the mission of the protesters, and then what they're trying to get out there about how they're just being silenced and no one's willing to talk about the issue. No one's willing to, try to squash it. They're just going to squash it with violence. It's just like, shut up. We don't want to hear it. They're closed-minded about the whole thing. And that feeds the protest. That feeds the discourse. It's going to make it bigger. Yeah.
It is. People are going to get angrier and angrier, and that's all they're doing is just provoking this anger in these people. And you can't blame these people, because that's very oppressive. I mean, can you imagine having to make sure that you have to make sure that you're dressed correctly? And it is so subjective too. Like when, with the morality police, you might have one who's more lenient than the other. And then the other, so you go out, you're fine. One day, the next day you go out and you're not, and you get beaten to death. I mean, how can people live like that?
Yeah, and they're not being discretionary about it either. In that one protest, there were women, men, older generation, mothers, grandmothers, grandfathers, religious people, and children. Numbered in the death was listed 5 children. How do they shoot children in protest? I do not understand. I maybe it's because I'm American, and protest is like it's a way of life here. You protest if the milk is too warm, or like if the price of a Starbucks went up 5 cents. I mean, there's going to be a picket line. But I'm just, to us, it's a little more common to do it, and there it's like life or death. And I can't imagine not having the freedom to say, I don't like something. I just, they are so brave to be doing what they're doing. That's all I can say, is because for right now, it's life and death, what they're doing. It's not just, I have an opinion. It's
something needs to change. It's because something is sparking that, because people are dying because someone thought they were wearing something wrong. That's just, it is wrong. It catches.
Yeah, I was just going to add there, before Catchin jumps in, is I think most people around the world couldn't imagine being repressed in such a way just over a dress code.
Right.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
There was a number of college students who were protesting this, and they were all locked in the basement of their college, and then plainclothes morality police gunned them down.
Oh my gosh. Now I heard 40 of them disappeared. Is that the 40 they're talking about?
I
Did
think
they?
so.
Oh
Um,
my. Oh
there,
wow.
this particular article has been circulating around Facebook
Mm-hmm.
about the locking the students in the basement
Mm-hmm.
and the plainclothes morality police shooting them. I mean, that seems horrific.
Yeah. I
I
think it was
know.
on Sky that I saw that 40 of them were missing, that were removed from the protest during the protest at the college, and that they hadn't been seen. But I didn't know about the Facebook article. Like the last I heard on the
Right.
larger media was that they couldn't find them. But wow, that.
Well, I would
awful.
protest that the plainclothes police were inappropriately dressed.
I think you might get shot, DK. But
I might.
Yeah.
I'll duck really quickly.
yeah,
Exactly.
it's good. Oh, yes, please be safe. But no, it's all jokes aside, it's quite distressing. Well, you got a problem when Khomeini was at the leaders was at the college speaking at one of the tech universities, and they were over talking him and telling that they didn't want him there, that he was untrustworthy, it was lies, they didn't want to hear it. It was bad. They were trying to do their message on and they were blaming the students for rioting, saying that he was reciting a poem that referred to rioters of distress as flies that are just nuisance and they don't mean anything and they have no point. And boy, did they not take that well.
Bloody hell.
Like way to calm it. Like just go there and just blame it on everybody else, and just show them again how you don't want to listen. You're talking to the younger generation, which is your future.
Exactly.
I don't care like what your mission is and what your message is. The younger generation is your future. If you cannot let them understand where you're coming from, your message is not going to succeed. It's not going to have a future.
It won't.
No, it's going to die out.
Absolutely.
Whoa, yeah, I think it's just not the way to go. Like they're just making it worse. I can't believe everything I'm hearing.
I know.
Well, not getting too tied into religion, but you are talking about a society of religious people who put a lot of credence in their elders rather than the youth.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really care about the youth as long as they're doing what the elders tell them to do.
But if you're going around shooting the youth for having an opinion, there's not going to be very many elders to carry that message.
No.
Right.
And
That's it right there.
the unfortunate thing about this whole thing is that there are a handful of TikToks recording what was happening down there, and that's what's been circulating around on Facebook is those TikToks.
That's been happening more all over the world with any kind of protest or any kind of aggression that's going on.
Well, I mean, it's good that it's getting out, though. I mean, otherwise we just wouldn't know. I mean, I was just going to say that I was going to ask, are these protests still going on? Because I'm not seeing any on in the news. Not that I'm watching the news very often, but I'm not really seeing anything about it. It's good to know that it's getting out. It's just what I think Amy's going to come to it later on in the show. It's like what happens next? What can be done? And is there anything that we can do?
Absolutely.
Very much doubt it.
Well, that's it. What can we do? I think sometimes that's more frustrating than anything else is knowing what to do to help. And because seeing this and seeing how people are being treated and it's terrible. And this is a terrible government that they have right now. And it's, and
obviously the political thing would be sanctions, but I think Iran is already like heavily sanctioned anyway, isn't it?
They are. They do not care. They are heavily sanctioned.
Yeah.
No one really agrees with what they're doing unless they are part of that religion. Some people, just based on the issue of they should have the right to do what they want as a religion and being the political power in charge. is true. Well, and they kind of feel it's up to the people to go against it. And now the people are, and the people are being mistreated. And so now it's going to become a bigger issue for whether they're part of all the organizations that go against how people get treated in general in their country when we start interfering. But then they're going to be pointing fingers at all the bigger countries that are trying to tell them to stop. And they're going to say it's none of our business, or who are we to tell you what to do? You know, here you are meddling again, you know. And yet, just trying to save lives, you know.
Yeah, the funny thing is, Claire, I know quite a few Muslims, and they're lovely people, absolutely lovely people. This is the extremism of Muslim which creates that kind of hatred for the entire, you know, religious.
Some things have been done for people that have been tortured by this morality police or by this political force that's in power. There's an organization called Freedom from Terror that is very popular in the UK right now. You have a lot of immigrants from Iran there that were brought over as torture victims and given a chance and therapy to start their lives over again. And I have to give that organization credit. It's still running today. I read an article today from an ex-tortured woman from Iran who is living in the UK, reading, writing, doing press for the Mail. It was a Daily Mail article. And she was talking about what's going on there now and how it's been going on for so long, and that this is an extreme escalation, but that it was predictable because you can't oppress people that hard and expect there's not going to be pushback. There is a little bit of hope. I mean, organizations like that, but what to do now for the people right now? Like, I have no idea.
And that is...
Go on, Maybe.
Oh, I was just going to say, and that is very true. And to go back to one of those things, yeah, Iran is really heavily sanctioned right now because of the nuclear arms issues. So it doesn't really work with them. But yeah, and these are extremists. And I did want to mention that. These are extremists who run this government. It's their interpretation of Islam that's bad, not Islam itself. It's
right.
So there we go. Just wanted to add that in too. But yeah, hopefully there is, you know, we'll be able to find some things that we can do to help, and you know, and hopefully these people can push back and some change can happen.
Tony Regime had tagged me to a note in the chat about the youth and education being so important, that the youth is the future, and that's why education should be free. And I agree, and that we have to push harder that and to get education. But that's a problem over there now too, is they're limiting the education, and they seem to go against by caste and by gender what education you can get. It's becoming a thing, a backwards thing. Yeah.
Absolutely it is. And that's another thing and you're right, education should, you know, knowledge is power. And we've said that before on here. The more you know, the better off you are. And these types of governments feed on fear and ignorance. And that's what they want people to stay, is fearful and ignorant. And when people learn things and they learn how things can be without being so oppressed like what these are doing, that's when these protests start as well. So that's another perspective on it. So
it's like the easy way out. I think it's much more easier to say, do as I say, you know, and don't question, than it is to educate as to why you're coming from where you're coming from. If they truly believe that this is the way things should be, then they should just promote it and educate and educate and educate. And maybe there'd be less discourse. I can't say everybody would agree, because there's always going to be people that are not going to want to do it that way. But it's got to be better than violence. It's got to be violence with, you know, better than do it my way or get gunned down or get pulled off the street and beaten to an inch of your life. Women are being returned to their families beaten severely, regularly, for these violations. Yeah,
exactly, on a regular basis. And it's horrible just because you didn't wear your scarf correctly. I mean, that's just, I mean, us, of course, it's an outrage because we're not used to that. But you know, that's just
all it was a little bit of hair showing. If a little bit of hair can incite such riot in these people, like, I don't understand. Like, you know, that's too much. That's just
That
too
is.
much. She wore the hijab. She had the respect enough to follow the law to wear it. And now
well, there's also the side of all the excuses they make for, oh, you have to be dressed like that because, you can't have one man salivating after another man's wife and all this other and blah, blah. To me, it just sounds like they're admitting that they're just literally one step away from being complete and utter savages. Like, fuck.
A personal issue, right? Why make it a religious temptation? It's a personal issue if you can't control yourself.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yeah, it's not the women's problem. It seems it's the men's.
Well, and it's and as Dick will probably be able to relate to this when I say this, it's a behavioral issue.
Yes.
You're only responsible for your own behavior. And if you're going to act the animal and go after these women because, oh my God, a piece of hair is showing, that's a you problem. That's not the woman's problem. And that's what they're doing is they are. And this has gone on through history and not in just this culture. It's got done in other cultures. It has in the past too. And
they use violence.
When somebody... Oh, sorry, Claire.
I'm sorry, they use violence because they are not strong enough to hold accountability for their own actions. So violence is usually the answer because you got to beat them down because you don't have an answer. They have no control. And that's how they try to get control. With violence, it's typical. It's kind of pathetic how typical it is, actually.
Sad.
It is. Well, violence is usually a control or a power thing. That's what most violence is for. It's control and power.
I have a question, and you might think I'm just being jokey and silly, but there's a serious question under there somewhere. But do they have pornography in Iran, or is that just non-existent? Or if there is, what do they
Obviously
show?
not.
A little bit of hair or anything like that?
Obviously not. What would they show? Like,
what do we do? Walk past a wig store and look at all the wigs and start furiously baiting off. I don't know. It's just weird.
I see the satire in it. I do.
That's what I mean. It sounds like a joke, but it's not really a jokey question.
Can you imagine tomorrow's headlines? America and UK joined together to bomb the Iran with porn to solve the issue. Like, I don't really, I can see where you're coming from, but I don't think it's going to help anything. It's too extreme.
Hey, it wasn't my plan. That's your plan.
Exactly.
No, but I don't mean to make light of it, but no, I don't see that they could handle it. They can't handle a little wisp of hair. Like, oh me, no.
Well, that's kind of like why I was asking. It just seems so fucking bizarre.
I'm seeing a lot of comments in the chat. One from PJCnet and things like that. People in Iran will just use VPNs to access anything like that, and I'm sure a lot of people there do. So I'm sure that's how they're, because they really do like to suppress, not almost as bad as North Korea, but not quite.
Well, when Kashmir says there's no porn in Iran, he knows because he tried.
Oh, yeah. And you have to actually have access for to use your VPN, so that's an issue there too.
Yeah, they'll just cut you off.
They are control, and I'm sure they have ways of getting like whole sites just banned, like other countries, just whole areas banned from the internet that you can't access.
Exactly. So that's when the VPNs must come into play.
Can you imagine if they got caught? I want a serious question. I wonder if a man got caught watching porn there, if it would be the same as a woman's hair showing.
Not at all. I guarantee it.
Yeah, that's the sad part, isn't it?
Exactly. Ooh, there are a couple of great comments in here that I really need to get to. Liam Wakefield said Google stats show that the more sexually restrictive the country, the higher the porn usage. And Michael Castrian says these countries have men on pedestals and women are controlled and treated like second-class citizens. Pornography carries the death penalty in Iran, and that's bad too. So we've got that as well.
Tony brings up a good point that here in America, the Amish also have dress codes, very strict ones, and very strict life codes about television and photographs and a way of life. But I noticed there's no violent outrage there, and there's no They don't shoot them in the streets. They do have a shunning policy. Their way is you're with us or you're not. And I think that's kinder. Like, they do want things their way, which they had, I'm not going to say they don't have a right to their religion their way, to practice their life their way. That's the freedom here in America. But they're not gunning them down in the streets or lighting their buildings on fire because their skirts were too short. So there's a little bit of a difference, possibly in the way they handle discourse on it. They also keep mostly to themselves, and don't try to explain themselves to outsiders. They keep the conversation to those that want to hear it. So, I got to give them a little respect for that.
Exactly. PJC Net made a good comment too, said you can get the death penalty for being a practicing homosexual in Saudi Arabia, but it still goes on all the time. A guy got arrested, released on bail, and managed to flee the country.
How did he get out if it's death penalty?
I know.
Her hair was showing. Did it like? I don't understand the differences here, but you see the strictness. It's all about sexuality. They call them the morality police and all. But the new laws, the regiments, they all had to do with sexuality based by belief that evil stems from the apple, so to speak, and from that whole thing, how that goes. But yeah, and it's just like the mere presence brings ill thought to do wrong, and I don't understand that, and that's why they want women covered from head to toe, your nose, your mouth. I don't. You can let your eyes be seen. That's about it. In most cases,
Absolutely, yeah. And yeah, we've been fighting that stupid Apple thing for how many years now? Thousands. Yeah, so it's, yeah.
I don't understand if they are the stronger, like it said, I know I'm going to get a lot of heat for this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I just can't help not. Well, if they are the stronger sex, then how are we so influential? We can get you to do all of that. Like, come on, really? Like, get a spine. Really.
Exactly.
Like, you keep trying to convince us you're all that and you're so much stronger. How are we so damn influential we can bring you to your knees and make you do evil with a wink or an apple? Come on.
Or a strand of hair.
Or a strand of hair. Like, come on, some accountability, please. Like, this is not how you are a man. At least not how I understand it.
No.
Okay, sorry. Sorry, Aimee. That's my sorry, not sorry for the night.
That's okay. That's perfectly a-okay. It was good. No, and I don't know of any men in my sphere right now that act like this, and
No, thank goodness I don't either.
Oh goodness, I know.
I might have to report on a few of them on my channel, but I don't know any of them.
Yeah. There we go. Shall we continue with the article?
Yeah.
Sounds like a plan. It says, it continues on. It says the unrest ignited by the death of a young woman in the custody of Iran's morality police is flaring up across the country for a third week at the time of this article, despite government efforts to crack down. On Monday, Iran shuttered its top technology university following an hours-long standoff between students and the police that turned the prestigious institution into the latest flashpoint of protests and ended with hundreds of young people arrested. Speaking to a cadre of police students in Tehran, Khamenei said that he was deeply heartbroken by the death of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini in police custody, calling it a tragic incident. However, he lambasted the protests as a foreign plot to destabilize Iran, echoing authorities' previous comments. Which is an interesting point right there. He's claiming that, they're being subverted by somebody else. So it continues on. This rioting was planned, he said. These riots and insecurities were designed by America and the Zionist regime and their employees. Meanwhile, Sharif University of Technology in Tehran announced that only doctoral students would be allowed on campus until further notice, following hours of turmoil Sunday when witnesses said anti-government protests clashed with pro-establishment students.
going to be lots of clashing. Oh, yeah.
I think so, especially with everything, with this escalating. I'm sure there are going to be a lot more clashes than what's being reported even, I'm thinking.
Oh, yeah. I got the next one up here.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. That's the second one?
Yeah, I have them all in the order from the planning room.
Excellent. Thank you. So, yeah, that's, yeah, here we go. Iran protests over young woman's death continue. Human rights group says at least 83 people have been killed, and this was as of the 30th of September. Protests continued in several cities across Iran on Thursday against the death of a young woman in police custody, state and social media reported, as a human rights group said that at least 83 people had been killed in nearly 2 weeks of demonstrations. Mahsa Amini, 22, from the Iranian Kurdish town of Saqqez, was arrested this month in Tehran for unsuitable attire by the morality police that enforces the Islamic Republic's strict dress code for women. And notice that key word there, it's only for women. Apparently men can wear whatever they want, which is not good as well.
Do you think they could wear a dress?
No, probably not. But they are getting far less restrictions compared. So got that as well. It says her death has sparked the first big show of opposition on Iran's streets since authorities crushed protests against a rise in gasoline prices in 2019. At least 83 people, including children, are confirmed to have been killed in the protests. Iran Human Rights, a Norway-based group on Twitter, said. Despite the growing death toll and a fierce crackdown by authorities, videos posted on Twitter show demonstrators calling for the fall of the clerical establishment in Tehran, Qom, Ras Sanandaj, Mashhad-e-Suleiman, and other cities. A state television said police had arrested a large number of quote-unquote rioters without giving figures. Rights groups said dozens of activists, students, and artists have been detained, and the Committee to Protect Journalists said on Twitter that it had learned that security forces had arrested at least 28 journalists as of September 29th. So they're arresting journalists as well as sweeping them up in the protests.
Time to run.
Yep. Time to get out, unfortunately. Meanwhile, yeah, it's not good. Meanwhile,
sorry, just to interrupt you a second. They don't say journalists from where. Are they talking about international journalists or just journalists within Iran?
Yeah. So far, it doesn't say in the article whether they're international ones or if they are.
Anyway. Sorry, you carry on.
Interior ones. It's okay, thank you. Meanwhile, Germany's foreign minister said on Thursday she wanted the European Union to impose sanctions on Iran following Amini's death. In Norway, several people attempted to enter the Iranian embassy in Oslo during an angry demonstration in which 2 people sustained light injuries, Norwegian police said. Police detained 95 people there, public broadcaster NRK reported. President Ebrahim Raisi said the unrest was the latest move by hostile Western powers against Iran since its Islamic revolution in 1979. The enemies have committed computational errors in the face of Islamic Iran for 43 years, imagining that Iran is a weak country that can be dominated, Raisi said on state television.
Wow.
So yeah.
Iran is such a strong country that they have to gun down students with plainclothes morality police in a locked garage.
Yep. Or in the back in a protest with children.
That's a strong government there.
That's it right there. It's very sad, and it's very scary what these people are going through right now. And basically, the government's response is just to clamp down and tighten down even more. But what they don't realize is it's now a snowball. The more they clamp down, the angrier these people are going to get.
There's more and more leaks every day.
Exactly. So
sometimes it's hard to actually believe you live in the 21st century.
Well, here in the States, that's true for me lately. I feel like we lost a few quite a few years, 50 to 100. I don't know about you, Aimee.
Close.
Yeah.
Has to have been. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, we lost at least 50 this summer
Mhm.
too.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm noticing that. I don't know if it's because maybe it's like the death knell for like extremist views on things having to do with women and their
It-
freedoms and rights, or
it-
what's going on, but it seems strange.
That's the key word there, extremists, because even in something totally unrelated, like a legal trial on a pro and con on a defamation case, the extremists came out of the wall like I don't know what, and kind of took the issue and started beating the drum and made it a whole big thing. Like, just have to believe someone just because of their gender, whether they be a female or a male. That to me was insane. It had nothing to do with the trial. The facts had to do with the trial, you know. Mm, eh,
Right.
Yeah. But educated people, like, we've talked about this before, Michelle Dauber, Charlene Proudman, Dr. Charlene Proudman. I mean, and they're still at it. They're still at it.
We still are at it.
Yes, every day. Yeah. I don't understand it. That extremists, I keep telling them, the only thing I say about it is this extreme view like this is not helping the cause. If you really want to get on there for victims of anything, you can't be extreme about it. You're taking away their voice. You're taking away anybody wanting to believe what you have to say. Like, you're not helping the issue. You're not helping the cause at all with this.
Absolutely not. And that's what they're doing is they and another thing that I think might need to be covered on here at some point, cancel culture.
Yeah. Does it actually exist? I mean, these days, all you have to do is threaten to cancel somebody and they get 100,000 people. I mean, I don't know on their side. Like, so what is cancel culture? Is it just like, I don't like you? Well, too bad, boo-boo. It's a free country.
Baby bullshit.
Yeah.
And a lot of people who scream cancel culture have basically done something that should get them pulled. Like, you're being mean to me because I can't incite an insurrection, or I can't basically tell people to kill other people. You're being mean.
I am going to be mean if you tell people to kill other people. Like, I think that's going too far. But as far as having a different opinion than me, like even a stronger case is, okay, I'm going to say a bad word here, Andrew Tate. Sorry, Aimee. We had the thing about him, and nobody agrees with him or what he was saying, but does he have a right to say it? Yeah, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to say yes, he does.
Yeah.
And
Yes, he does.
am I happy that they kind of took away some of his platforms? Yes. All of them? No. Am I happy that the Facebook the Facebook group is down because that was misinformation, that was leading people astray, taking people's money just to promote a damaging message? I'm glad that one's gone. But should he be allowed to come on YouTube and talk about it? Yeah, he should. Like, should he be allowed to have a Twitter account to talk about it? Yeah, he should. He could talk so that we can tell people he's wrong.
Well, my view of it, exactly. My view of the freedom of speech is to let these idiots let their idiocy shine. That way people can see them for what they are, idiots.
And that might help Khomeini if he would let them speak and actually talk with them instead of push on them. Like, maybe. I don't think it'll solve all his problems. There's still going to be people that don't want to agree. And they might have to vote. I mean, do they get to? That's the other question. Aimee, do they get to vote? Is this going to affect elections, you think?
I'm wondering too about their elections. I'm a little fuzzy on that because I'm wondering if it's maybe, I don't think they're like our elections where they actually matter. I'm wondering if they're like more like sham ones where, you get to vote, but do you really get to vote? Do you know what I mean?
I certainly doubt the women are allowed to vote.
Exactly. So we definitely need allies right now over there.
I don't think anybody be voting for or against anyway, based on like how you get shot, like for this stuff.
Well, I don't think they have very much.
Sable Eagle is telling us that they get to vote for a president from a list vetted by the GC, and the president gets to pick the ministries of most things. which means they could probably stay in power based on the hold that they have now. Thank you for that, because
Thank you. Yeah,
mm,
that's what I was thinking. I don't think they're very. I wouldn't
yeah.
consider them free elections.
And here's the problem. He says that education and the military are in the hands of the Ayatollah, which gives them a lot of power, which means the religious faction of this has all the power.
Yeah, exactly. And Tony Regime made a good point as well. It doesn't matter who gets to vote it. What matters is who counts the votes.
Yeah, kind of speaking my language there here in America. Because it could be 48-52 and people will read that a different way. Like 48 will mean something else, like to somebody else. Like, I don't get that. Like, to me, 48 is 48. But
right.
Well, are they using Arabic numbers in their counting system? Because that could be the problem.
Aha, that's it. That is it. All right.
Yeah.
That explains everything.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, so you can tell that it's not like what we experience in the West as far as our elections are concerned. We do have a pretty big say in what happens here. So for them, they just have to be.
Well, that's what they like you to think.
Well, yeah, exactly. But it's freer than other places, I would say. Let's just put it that way. So.
Freer than Iran, at least.
Well, yes. Exactly. And at least us women here get to vote. And the funny thing is, if you look back, we actually haven't had the right to vote for very long ourselves. 102 years. That's it.
Yeah.
That is it.
Yeah, we were nagged into letting you do that.
Yeah, we're good at that, aren't we?
We're very good at that. Get used to it.
Just standing there in the kitchen with a rolling pin saying, I want to vote. Okay, dear.
Yeah. See, we finally got you to do what we want. Yeah. We're so all powerful. You should just, everybody just bow down now. Just give up. Just give up.
It was that little flick of hair that you did, Claire, that just did it for us.
It was. I'm telling you, we're going to rule. We're going to rule the world anyway. So just give up. I mean, this is why you're oppressing us so much, right?
I'm not going to say where that hair was, but
stop that. Wrong show, DK.
Yes.
I'll shut up.
Oh no! Don't shut up, please.
No. Exactly.
Yeah, but yeah, it's funny. I mean, it's not funny. It's funny because it's true. It's so true that it's ridiculous, which makes it a little funny to me.
Exactly. We do have to have some light moments because it's really very hard.
Yeah, I know, Amy. Right? You're a woman here in America. You got two choices: a sense of humor or a baseball bat. Like,
the thing is, also, you are allowed to laugh at things in America or the UK,
right? And they're not. They're not.
No.
Yeah, they're not allowed to laugh about it. And that is sad to me because they have no free thought. They have no free will. It's the type of oppression I will admit to not knowing. As much as I complain about what happens here in America or in business or whatever, it's nothing like that. And
no, it does make you count your blessings. It really does. Because of all the things that we've complained about and some of the experiences some of us have had, there are people who deal with this on a daily basis and can't escape it like what we can.
The thought of losing a daughter over what she wore in public or not wearing it properly, knowing she went out with it on to try to follow the law and to lose a life over it. I can't even imagine. Her parents, her friends, everyone who knew her, people who don't know her, like us. It's difficult to understand.
We do have a situation where people will wear certain things and they'll wear certain clothes and they'll get bullied by other people because they've decided to choose something. We still have that sort of situation going on in the Western world. It's nowhere near the same, but even wearing the wrong thing in our countries can get you attacked.
Have you seen
there was a story of a couple of goths who got attacked and beaten up and killed in London a few years ago just because they were dressed as goths. You know, and that's not right. But it's not. It's not a comparison, but it's just pointing out that there is still prejudice for things like that over here.
Well, Michael Castrian is clarifying first that the Iranian women do have the right to vote since 1963, and that women have held political office there. I guess it's just since this more religious rulings have come into effect that things have gotten a little dicey.
Exactly. And Northern Chimp makes a good point as well. If one looks at the order in which countries gave the right to vote to women, it's funnily not in the order many of us would think. And that is true.
Iran wasn't always the way it is now. So
True.
That's true. It was fairly secular for almost right up until the revolution, wasn't it?
most certainly.
It's extremists that are coming in and changing the playing field. And usually we think of extremists as the minority. So when they come into great power, it's very upsetting because it's not the majority of how people are feeling around them.
Well, like Tony Regime said earlier on, he said it's not even extreme Islam that's the problem. It's simply an oppressive government that is using the religion to as an excuse to oppress.
Well, that's it. And that's what I was saying before, too. It's their interpretation of Islam. That's the issue.
Yeah.
They're interpreting it in such a restrictive manner. And so and they're using that as part of their government. Absolutely. Because we aren't bashing all of Islam. We're not doing that. We're just Iran's government right now. They're terrible. So they deserve it. You know, the way they treat, the way they have these morality police beating and torturing these women. And it's a human rights issue. That's why when they say, well, it's not our business, it actually is, because it is a human rights issue. It's something that needs to be really looked into. And that's what I think so far.
Absolutely. Totally. Did you want me to bring up the next one there? It was the Wikipedia on her death.
I would like to, there's a next one right after it from The Guardian, if you could bring that one up.
There we go.
You. Awesome. Okay, now this one is an opinion piece, and she's an activist, and so I think her voice, she'll want to be heard too. So I love The Guardian, by the way. Iran's protests are not an angry outburst, but the result of generations of trauma. And her name is Nasreen Parvaz. And for older activists like me, the uprising has reopened old scars and breathed new life into our long struggle for freedom. Women, life, freedom. Those words have been the rallying cry for protest that has erupted in the wake of the murder of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini at the hands of Iran's feared morality police. They are shaking the Iranian regime to its core. Unlike past movements, this uprising cuts across generations and social classes. For young Iranian women, Amini's death ignited an explosion of pent-up fury at the regime's suppression of women's rights. For older activists like me, it has reopened the scars from previous uprisings and breathed new life into the decades-long struggle for freedom. Demonstrations began in Tehran on 16 September, soon after news of Mahsa's killing broke. Within hours, women appeared in the streets, burning their hijabs and calling for justice. Within days, the protests spread. In towns and cities across Iran, school children have abandoned their classrooms to join the masses thronging the junctions and blocking streets. The regime's violent response has been brutal. Killings of protesters began immediately, and hundreds have already lost their lives. Last Friday, in the southeast city of Zahedan, as many as 91 people were killed when state forces opened fire, including 5 children. Doctors certified that they had been shot from behind. Despite the regime shutting down the internet across the country, videos of police violence continue to leak out, further fueling public rage. Universities that have acted as staging posts for protests are now under attack from regime forces. Last Sunday, police fired on peaceful protesters at Tehran's Sharif University of Technology, and at least 40 students were blindfolded and taken away in vans. Like so many parents in Iran, their families have no idea where they are. After 16-year-old Nika Shakarami's battered body was returned to her family by police after she disappeared at a protest, many fear the worst. The roots of this uprising that Iranians have already called a revolution can be found in a collective anger that has been suppressed for half a century. I became politically active soon after the Islamic regime took power and introduced its sexual apartheid laws. In 1982, I was arrested and taken to Joint Committee Interrogation Center, where I was tortured. After hours of beatings, I was left paralyzed for weeks, leaving me unable to shower or use the bathroom alone. The prison was so crowded I slept in a corridor for a month with dozens of other prisoners. We were blindfolded 24 hours a day, even eating and sleeping in darkness. Later, a guard bashed my head against the wall so hard I developed a brain tumor, an injury that troubles me to this day. While the regime sentenced me to death, my sentence was commuted and I was eventually released in 1990. Soon after, I realized I was no longer safe and fled to the UK. Since settling here, painting and writing have provided much relief, as has therapy from the organization Freedom from Torture. But I am not cured. I still see the faces of my friends who were executed. 10 years after I fled Iran, the regime turned the center where I was interrogated into the Ebrat Museum. The torture chambers were preserved, with the regime claiming that they were used only by the forces of the Shah, which was deposed in the 1979 revolution. But as the protests across the country demonstrate, the people have not forgotten. This is not just a burst of anger from a young and idealistic generation, but the accumulated trauma of generations of Iranians struggling for freedom. Today, the regime is not just fighting to maintain its power, but its very survival. Facing such anger from every section of society, it will kill or jail anyone who opposes it. But the people have come too far to turn back. If they give in and go home, there will be another massacre. They are fighting for their lives. A nationwide day of action has been called for Saturday, the 8th of October. I fear for the safety of my people. But I remain hopeful that they will sweep away the Islamic regime and realize the dreams of generations of Iranians who have come before them. Just reading the part about the kids leaving their classroom and the classrooms, and then 5 children getting killed in these protests, it gave me goosebumps, and that, it really did. So it was, wow.
That's horrific. It really is.
Yeah, even children are going out to fight these things.
And aside from getting a couple of check-ins from people that I know in Iran, in the wee hours of the morning this morning, saying that they're alive after yesterday's big thing, I haven't heard anything about what happened yesterday.
Wow, that's not good. That's not good.
Not myself either.
Well, that's what I was going to ask about. What we're talking about, this protest on the 8th, and what happened. Don't know. That's scary.
Yeah,
it's very scary.
Lee, let me see if I can find something quick. One sec.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Yeah, and I'll keep looking myself because it's.
I mean, sorry. Can we go over that again? What was going to happen on the 8th? Was this like just a mass protest of just everybody?
It was
going out the streets.
National day of protest, basically,
yes,
where they were
action.
I mean, they were saying that they were going to overthrow the government.
Well, we'd certainly have heard about that if it had happened.
So
right,
we're sitting here going, What was the result of yesterday?
Yeah, nothing happened.
Exactly.
Yeah, there was some outbreaks. Like, have we seen photos of? There was a video that had some outbreak, but I don't think it was from yesterday. It was from prior in the week. In the streets, a couple of fires. The police showed up. Saw a few videos, but nothing from yesterday, which is weird.
Maybe just everybody was just so terrified that this National Day of Protest never happened because
the National Day of Protest was planted by the government to say that the protesters were going to try to do something unlawful, like turn over their government, instead of just saying how displeased they are with the way things are going. Maybe propaganda. Jeez. Could be.
Or everyone was sitting at home pissing themselves laughing.
Exactly.
The cops were out on the street.
Yeah.
I just found an article from the BBC about calling for sanctions, and they did say, and this was posted an hour ago, they did say that protests are continuing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is a good one too. So I'll go right into it because I think it's a good one to read.
Yes.
Iran protests. Germany calls for sanctions over violent crackdown. Germany's foreign minister has called for action against those responsible for the violent crackdown on protests in Iran. Annalena Baerbock said Germany would ensure the European Union froze assets and imposed entry bans. She described those who beat up women and girls on the street as standing on the wrong side of history. EU foreign ministers are expected to decide on sanctions on the 17th of October, according to the Reuters news agency. Speaking to a German newspaper, Baerbock also criticized those who condemn to death people who want nothing other than to live free. She told Iranians that we stand by you and we will continue to do so. The proposed sanctions come after the death of Mahsa Amini sparked demonstrations throughout the country. The 22-year-old died in custody after being detained by Iran's morality police on the 16th of September. Dozens of Iranians have lost their lives after taking to the streets to protest Mahsa Amini's death. The Iran Human Rights Group, based in Norway, said at least 185 people, including 19 children now, had died since the unrest began. I know. Iran state media say 20 members of the Islamic Revolution Guard Corps, police, and security forces have been killed. Videos and images circulating on social media over the weekend appeared to show Iran's security services entering schools and universities. The BBC is not responsible for the content of external sites, of course, but yeah, female students at a university in Tehran were reported to have chanted "Get Lost" to President Ebrahim Raisi when he visited on Saturday. Saturday also saw the country state television channel hacked. Viewers saw a mask appear on the screens, followed by an image of the supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, surrounded by flames. Many in Iran are now calling for the end of Islamic clerical rule. So there were continuing protests, and apparently it was on Saturday that they had hacked in and showed those images.
Yeah.
There's one here too from Reuters, and video shared on social media showed protests in dozens of cities. This is just hours ago, across Iran early on Sunday, with hundreds of high school girls and university students participating despite the use of tear gas, clubs, and in many cases, live ammunition by the security forces.
Whoa.
Yeah. There's one here. Don't hit my wife. She is pregnant.
Oh, my God.
Jeez.
Yeah.
This is like, they're saying they don't use live ammunition. They're saying they're using like birdseed and, metal or rubber bullets or whatever. Then how are these people dying with gunshot wounds to their back? Like, and children,
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you use just the rubber bullets, normally if you're at a distance enough, they're not gonna die from them. They might get hurt very badly, but they won't usually. And I say that usually. Don't quote me on that, but yeah,
you can get killed by a rubber bullet.
You can, and that's what I was going to say that as well.
I'm
And
sure
I was
children
putting
can.
qualifiers
Yes,
on
they're
it.
so
yeah.
small, and the trauma of the impact. I can see the children. Well, to their backs, like I don't understand the reason to even shoot birdseed or buckshot at anybody from behind if they're leaving the scene or dispersing. If they turned around to go, I don't get
Right.
it. I don't.
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I don't see these people giving a fuck about rubber bullets or anything like that. That's like having like two sets of guns. We got the guns that fire bullets and the guns that can fire rubber bullets. We can't afford the rubber bullet ones. We'll just go for the normal ones. With their cheap.
We'll just shoot people.
We get them from Russia.
Yep. But the universities are involved now, and it's huge. That's huge.
That is huge.
Yeah, they are actually entering universities to keep the kids from discussing this. That's
and schools.
In schools, that's wild. That's absolutely wild.
And of course, the schools are having none of it.
And they do have a habit of like whatever does get leaked as far as videos of the protests, they do try to identify the people in them and pick them up later. It is one of the tactics they've been using for years.
Absolutely.
And I imagine they're doing it now on the basis of people disappearing all over the place. So
exactly, they're never safe. So
look, we've got the Iranian porn bots hitting the chat.
Is that it?
Yeah, must be. So, I mean, so they're going into teachers. I mean, I'm not too sure what it's like in Iran or what, because like in most countries, in the West and stuff like that, a lot of our teachers are women. Do they have women teachers in Iran?
They do.
Yeah.
And Sable Eagle put in other words that most of the women in university, 70% of them are in science and I think he said math, science and something else. But high tech degrees,
technology,
high tech degrees, and so there must be opportunity there. Although with the freedoms that they have, I would imagine they're going to take that elsewhere.
Well, I'm just thinking that at this point in time, the enemy to them are women. So they're just going to target anywhere where women might be. I mean, especially schools and universities where you've got women talking to other students and they're going to be passing on their views and all that kind of stuff.
Well, that always goes for that's a way to get your message out there. Let's just get the women not to want to listen or be around you. That's going to get your future secured. I mean, come on, that's kind of like, don't you do better when we're on your side? Like, things work better.
You would think so.
You would think so. Propagation, the future of everything. Like, come on.
It's so hard to get you. It's so hard to get you girls on our side because I can't afford that amount of diamond rings and necklaces and stuff.
You see, you're talking to somebody who is totally not into any of that.
I bought my wife. I bought my wife a new vacuum cleaner for Christmas, and she didn't appreciate it.
Oh, you'd be surprised what a little bit of respect and equality will get you. You'd be surprised. Yeah,
I'll try it one day.
Yeah, it's a good idea. It's a good plan. I look forward to that.
But at least I don't shoot people in the back.
This is true, DK. I got to give you good credit. Good credit for that. Yeah, you're a good soul.
Exactly. You're behaving yourself for now.
Yeah. Well, it's just so hard to understand.
It is.
There has to be a better way for them to have their message and secure the lives of their people. They give everybody.
Exactly.
I think what's so sad is that this is only one oppressive regime in the world. There are so many. Yes. And that's what I was saying earlier. Sometimes it's hard to believe this is the 21st century. It should not be like this anymore. We don't want you to adopt all the Western philosophies or whatever. Just don't be a dick.
Is that actually a Western philosophy? Don't be a dick, because
I think. Yeah.
I thought that was worldwide. Like that should be international, don't you think?
Yeah, well, Tehran should use it a bit more often. Iran, don't be a dick.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
North Korea, don't be a dick.
Yeah, we should put that on t-shirts and send it out.
There we go.
We'd be censored.
Well, essentially, that's been my whole philosophy all along. Be nice. I just have rules. Just, one rule with 2 words in it. Be nice. It's not that hard.
I wonder how many countries would be able to wear that T-shirt, Amy. Like,
I know.
Not many.
Not many. And it seems like it's getting fewer and fewer. If you ever notice that less and less, it's just incredible to me.
I mean, even here in America, just wearing that T-shirt, you know how we get labeled? We would be like left extremists, like men haters, like just for wearing that T-shirt.
Yes, exactly.
Which just equates to be nice.
I tell you what, if we get enough super chats, we'll send the Ayatollah a nice dead badger fucking T-shirt.
Oh God.
Or a grub muffin. There you go, Amy.
Yeah,
we'll send him a grub muffin.
Well, we get cited for illegal dancing.
What is this grubbish muffin? What is the grubbish muffin? I like the grubbish muffin. They taste delicious.
Yes.
With this moldering frosting on top. Oh, that's it right there. It's just, But yeah, we definitely need. I have a grub muffin T-shirt that I wear once in a while, and you should see the laughter I get. He's in the shaking of the head. What is that? I get asked that a lot. And on the back of my shirt, it says, "Don't be a grub muffin." Yes. Well, there we go. There's our hashtag. Don't be a grub muffin.
Yes.
Yes. Don't be a grub muffin. Fact, you said, somebody please tell Nathan Oakley, don't be a dick.
Yes.
Exactly. So
I like PJ says, has he got an email address? Send him a link to the show.
Exactly.
Can you imagine? Oh man, no.
Our special guest tonight is
my DMs are full enough. I don't need them full of like language I don't understand and getting yelled at. No.
Oh, maybe not.
Exactly.
One thing I did notice is that most of the people that started reporting on YouTube and on their own Facebook pages and even web pages, bloggers, most of their Twitter accounts and social medias have all been like canceled. I don't know if you noticed that, but I always try to look at like who's doing the reporting. Yeah, there was one guy I checked out today, and I went to say, oh, maybe I'll follow him on Twitter. Maybe he's got some news about what's going on now, and I found all his accounts suspended.
Shut up, Meg.
Can they do that from their end?
I don't know if it has something to do with that, or they're not able to get out, or whatever. But it was just curious to me. It just happened repeatedly.
I can't imagine Twitter or YouTube would be shutting down these people's channels just because they don't want their voice being heard. But it could be that, but just seems a bit strange.
It does.
That sounds like back dealings from Iran.
Yeah, it could be. A country putting out a block or something like that, maybe.
They delete their account though. That's something different.
Well, it says account suspended. Everyone I went to said account suspended. You know how, like with all the articles we read, they give the names of the people that they're speaking to or stuff. So I usually do a little research on who it is and whether they have a blog and stuff like that. And I'm finding like all their Twitters and Facebook accounts suspended. It's kind of speaks to tyranny of me. I don't know. Maybe I'm just looking, at shadows. Who knows? But it was a bit much. I don't normally see that many suspended accounts on a subject.
It's definitely conspiratorial, but in this case, I would imagine the conspiracy is probably, well worth deserved.
And
Well-
Nicholas is saying they err on the side of deleting any account that is questionable. And I guess since you cannot, if they're bloggers speaking out of turn out of Iran, they can't get their credentials confirmed through regular channels. So I guess that might be how it's happening too. Kind of like a catch-22. You got to do everything on the sly, so then you can't be verified. So you get, silenced.
That's exactly it. So these protests, they're having a harder time getting this stuff out. Luckily enough, it's still been leaking out. Let's hope that continues as well. So hopefully we can still get news from people on the ground there that can send out these videos, hopefully. So yeah, because that needs to happen.
There's a lot more coming. This is nowhere near done yet.
This is just the beginning. Seriously, it's only the beginning. This has only just begun. They have a long, hard road ahead of them, and it's just going to get worse.
Wow.
A lot worse, I'm sure.
Do you see Nicholas's comment there about his friend who got suspended permanently for one comment? He just repeated what someone else said. Like, wow. Whoa. Like, that's just not right.
You should have been using Truth Social.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm sure Trump would welcome him with open arms over there on Truth Social based on what his friend said. Like, yeah, sure. Okay.
Exactly.
Welcome. Oh, my. Oh, gosh. Oh, boy.
Oh, thank you so much, Liam Wakefield.
Hey, Liam.
20 pounds sterling for the Ayatollah T-shirt fund. Thank you so much. That's brilliant. I love it. Thank you.
Hey, I'm going to go quickly check that the Ayatollah is on the no-fly list, Amy, so that we're going to be okay.
Absolutely, I know, because it goes so well over here.
I don't want them bringing that T-shirt back to us in any kind of way. No.
I know. Thank you.
Oh, man. Oh gosh, it's I almost feel guilty even having a little snicker like with such a serious topic, but I find myself it's so hard to wrap my brain around what to do about it. I can't help but look for the little funny things just to settle myself. I imagine a lot of people hearing about it are feeling the same way, but it is serious, very, very serious,
very, very serious situation, and I this is why we have Claire on the show, because she knows exactly when to insert the humor, because I know I was getting emotional when I read about the children being killed. 19. I mean, that's a lot.
I'll admit to shedding a tear earlier today. And when you increased the number, I caught my breath. I did
too.
Yeah. No, I'm on your side, Amy. No, I get it too. Even though I come in here being a bit of a dick sometimes, but no, this is a serious situation and it's not right. I'm just no.
I'm on your side too.
Thank you. And then I just can't get over how I'm going to do it again. How brave those kids were.
They were, and how weak your side looks when you're killing children in opposition of a point. Like, come on, really? That is going to speak volumes all over the world.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. I mean, it's just,
but it's not though. It's not. That's the problem. It's not. The world should be in fucking uproar.
It should not. They're getting the information slowly. There is a lot out there. If you look, like Sky, Daily Mail, like Amy said, The Guardian, Reuters, Washington Post did a huge thing yesterday on. It is there, but it's for those that are actually looking for it. It's not like it's not all over social media to the point where it's inundating you, because there isn't enough coming out of our Iran. You know what I mean? There's not enough video. There's not enough atrocity, And I don't blame CNN or the major news channels for not wanting to put dead children up there. I wouldn't.
Right.
I wouldn't.
So are we saying there's not enough bloodshed?
No, I'm saying that the Ayatollah is using anything that we do to say that we're inciting the riots by reporting on it, that we are encouraging the disruption of their country and an overturn, and that it's a plot by us in Israel to overturn their country. And so maybe for once, media is being, shall I say, discretionary. Oh my God, did that come out of my mouth? Media and discretionary? That's like an oxymoron. I don't normally do that. But maybe that could be what's going on. I don't know, with a little hope. I hope so. Yeah. That, if we do report on it a lot, the headlines out of there are going to be that we caused it, that we're encouraging it, that we're paying for it will be the next thing,
Well, that's exactly it.
Yeah. So I can understand why the major news networks aren't blasting it all over television and everywhere right now. But I do think more and more is going to leak. It's all over social media. It is going to get there. It's just how it gets there. I hope it gets there properly, with maybe some real political officials from Iran speaking on it. Well, that would be nice.
And we can't be blamed for all the people who are being shot. We're not the ones that are doing that. We're just reporting what's happening. And if we're encouraging more and more demonstrations, fine, demonstrations, but you don't have to shoot them.
Mm-hmm. We say peaceful demonstrations. Everybody.
Well, they are peaceful.
They're trying.
All demonstrations are peaceful
until the other side opens up fire. Yeah, they are.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Hey, MJ had a very interesting post as well. We're screaming on the inside. The world is tired post-pandemic. Putin's antics, midterms, politics, SCOTUS. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hey, MJ, I feel you. I don't know what country you're from, but I feel that here in America. I am screaming on the inside just based on SCOTUS and politics, something I never thought I would talk about on YouTube. I am screaming on the inside. And then I get involved with what Putin's doing and how offended I am and how crazy that all is and oppressive. And then this too. And like, what do you do? What can you do?
Well, that's exactly it. What can you do? How can we fix this? How can we fix all the, I'm going to say it, shit going on in the world today?
Amy!
How dare you?
You
Amy.
said a bad word.
I did. Finally.
I got goosebumps.
First time tonight. But there is, half the shit the stuff that we're seeing is just absolute shit. It's just SCOTUS and
shenanigans.
Exactly.
I can't even take it for seriously. It's ridiculous. Yeah.
All the crazy. That's funny, PJC.
And that's the sad part. It's true. It's true. We have to deal with it because it's actually really happening. As much as we want to try to think that can't be. There must be something else to it. There must be something else going on. No, it's true. And that's the hard part to deal with.
Well, that's exactly it. Everything is just happening. Just seems like it has been mostly since the pandemic. It's like, my goodness, it's like every time we turn around, there's more crap coming out that, we have the pandemic, we have the war, we have this happening in Iran. We have all kinds of other places that are going the extremist route and going backwards and women had a right taken away from them that was around for my whole freaking life. I was born in 1973 during, about 7 months after SCOTUS decided that. I don't know any different about not having a choice in what I can do with my body.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, I live in a state that we've maintained our sanity and we've kept that right for us here.
Mm-hmm.
And we are a sanctuary state. Thank you, Governor Mills. You better get voted back in because I don't want Lepage again. No, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So, we do. We have sort of a fight ahead of us, but we don't have the life and death what Iran is having right now. And that's...
They just want to jail us. They want to jail us and fine us, but they're not putting bullets in our backs yet. But
no,
that's pretty. Oh, but Amy,
there was a key word in what you just said, though.
Yet.
Yet.
Anyway.
Exactly. 3 letters. Yeah.
I'm careful.
Exactly. Because some of the extremists, I'm not
Yeah.
going to say any names, but some of the extremists would like to see that happen. They would like to see us brought back.
Yeah, if you want the names, come to one of my political shows. I'll tell you.
Okay.
Anyway.
Sounds like a plan.
No, but actually, I just did read that actually a state like Arizona just held up in their Supreme Court. So the state thing might actually be working against them because states do have legal processes also in Supreme Courts, and they just held the stay in the Arizona law that they can't do it. They're making it still an option. You can do what you want in Arizona right now without being legally pressed upon, because their Supreme Court said, no, you're going too far. And I think maybe more states will do that. There have been quite a few that have turned over. There is hope.
There is hope. You're right.
What's the dress code in Arizona? Is it hijab or 10-gallon hat? I mean, what
Daisy Dukes and flip flops. It's like 90 degrees with humidity all the time. Yeah.
And spaghetti strap tank tops.
Yeah. You weren't ready for us to volley that back, were you, DK?
And sometimes an eye patch.
And an eye patch, exactly.
I wear 2 eye patches just to be careful.
I now need bleach for my eyeballs because the image you've just given me. Thank you.
What, an image of me in Daisy Dukes and spaghetti strap tank tops?
Exactly.
Yes, the picture of
God.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to take off my cardigan and I'm going to scare you.
Ooh.
Yikes.
I think we've been threatened.
I think we have.
Yes. Oh God. Oh well. Anyway, where do we want to go now?
Yeah, I'll just share it to my only Iran's fan site.
Oh, there you go.
Aimee, do you think that these women can organize under, like, say, something with an international group and do some ACLU like oppression rules against their political government? What do you think? All the students?
That might work. I'm wondering if they could. There are already some charities in place. Maybe they could all band together and maybe try to get in contact with the women inside Iran and maybe do something like that. Something does have to be done. And
yeah, because aren't there organizations internationally that go against the beating of your own civilians for minor infractions, like the treating of your people? I think so.
I would think so. That's something that we'd have to look at too. They are trying. There are talks right now of imposing sanctions. So let's hope that that's what they do.
They don't work unless these countries want to be part of these organizations, these common sense organizations, which most extremist places don't want to have anything to do with. But yeah.
Exactly.
You know what? Where's Amnesty International when you need them?
I just learned a thing. It turns out they do have stores specifically for like sex toys and pornography in Iran, and it's just a translation error. We call them fabric shops.
I'm fascinated at the fact that you've been spending your time Googling this while we were talking.
You got to wrap the girl and hide her first. So, you go to the fabric store before anything happens there, right?
That's true. We do have a hand up. We have Gotcha Studios.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say that, like a lot of these articles have been saying students and stuff, protesters. It's not just women. It's the whole populace of Iran.
It's men. I see just as much men in the videos as I do women. It's just, they're not happy with it either. And that's heartening too. That's actually a good thing to see.
Because, there are freedoms that a lot of these people have had for most of their lives that are being taken away with this recent regime. So, and, you're a 30-year-old man. As far as you can tell, a woman's had almost the same rights that you have your whole life growing up, and then suddenly she doesn't.
Yeah.
So it's, I mean, it warms my heart. It also terrifies me because, I mean, I'm worried as hell about them because I have a bunch of dear friends that have been involved in these protests, and I'm like, when Alex posted on Friday that he was going to go do the thing on Saturday and that he might die, and he was so happy to meet us all just in case, I'm like, please don't.
If that's how serious, life and death, just to get their voice out there, just for common sense, just for reasonable rights. These aren't extreme rights they're asking for. Just don't beat me because of how I'm dressed. I mean, how, like...
I know, you can have whatever government you want, but do you really need to be beating and killing your people because of how they dress? Because you might be offended by what they're wearing? When, if you look at that picture, if you look at the picture on the wall on our set, can anybody tell me how terrible?
I know, I don't get it.
How offensive? Yeah.
Well, that's exactly it. She's a beautiful girl, and it's heartbreaking to me. It's just,
if human skin is offensive, then every one of those guys over there that find it offensive should fillet themselves in public right now.
Because when is it ever appropriate for how you make someone else feel to take their life? You felt a certain way. So what? They didn't do anything to you. They're existing. That's a you thing. Like Aimee said before, that's a definite not their problem. It's never right.
Exactly. It's just, like I said before, I mean, as we're growing up, we learn these things. Your behavior is on you. What you do is on you. If you have an issue with about seeing someone else's, a lock of their hair sticking out of their scarf, that's a you problem. Seriously, a you problem. It doesn't even matter if she's walking around with just Band-Aids on. It's a you problem. If you can't control your own freaking behaviors, you have the issue, not the person. I'm just, yeah.
Exactly. So how do you see this like developing or not? Do you think it's just going to be well, I hate to bring it up, like gun control in America, where people like rise up and shout and scream a lot, and it all just goes quiet because the government do fuck all about it. Which I've got the feeling that's what's going to happen from the Iranian government. They're not going to waver. They're not going to change their policies or change terms. Do you think people are just going to go quiet for a while, or what do you think? Or do you think it's just going to get worse and worse and worse?
I'm seeing it getting worse and worse and worse and plateauing maybe. A lot of people are out on the streets, and I mean, right from kids in classrooms to the elders that are out there, the elderly people that are out there as well. Men, women, it doesn't matter who they are out there. And that's what I've seen so far. And it's getting worse and worse. So, like Liam Wakefield said, the majority are not followers of the ruling class's religion, yet they've had their lives restricted by it. They're getting fed up with being so oppressed. And I think that's basically what's, I do see it continuing, and hopefully something does happen, but we can only hold out hope. Go ahead, Dick.
Oh, there's a quote here, and it's funny because wait till I, make sure everybody knows who it's from. But your opinion is yours. My opinion is mine. If you don't like what I'm saying, then fine. But don't close it out. Always keep an open mind. A man who fails to listen is blind.
Yep.
And that's Ice-T. So, I mean, if he can figure it out, what the hell?
Well, I thought you were going to say it was Eric DeBay.
Yeah.
If you ever really pay attention to rap lyrics and how they're written, they're just basically, it's just a lot of it is spoken poetry, and what he just said was very eloquent and very, very true. You
Yeah,
know, you
very
are
much.
closed off if you can't entertain others' opinions, and that's very true, and something that I know I need to practice, and I'm sure everyone here, we all have biases, just so you know.
Mhm.
Nobody is immune from that. So,
Mhm.
but it's something that now that we're, as we are conscious of that, it's something that you can work on. But yeah, it's
Well, I'm just wondering if this is basically the straw that broke the camel's back. Pardon the Persian pun there, but yeah, I wonder if it's literally the case that the people have just had enough of the fucking regime, and that they are just basically wanting to tear it down. And this was the one
I
thing
think so.
that threw him over the edge. So it's not just the case that
It's not
that
just
women
this that
are
caused it.
being. Yes, it's not just this. It's a lot of other things
It's a lot,
that have just brought it
yes.
to that boiling point.
Right. And this was just that one last thing that pushed him over the edge. It was just, this is ridiculous. I mean, this girl went out looking exactly like she did in that picture, and she died because of it, because someone didn't like, they impose this. I hate this. One of my biggest pet peeves is people pushing their morals on everybody else and thinking that their morals are better than everybody else's. And I fight with people with that all the time because I hate it. It's disgusting. She died because of that, and I think that's what pushed him over the edge. I honestly do.
Yeah.
It has to have been, along with everything else that's been going on, like with the disastrous handling of the pandemic that they did there,
Mhm.
and to try to keep these people ignorant, but they're not. They're amazingly smart, amazingly resilient people, and I'm just in awe of them and their bravery. I mean, kids going to these protests. There was an amazing picture that someone had posted of these little girls in a classroom, and they're all standing in a row, and they're putting their middle fingers up at the Ayatollah's picture.
Exactly.
We should see we should see those pictures.
Yes, I don't know if I posted one. One of us did.
I got them.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
Mhm.
There was this one here.
Yes, which is beautiful.
Oh, yes.
But look at the amount of people in that picture, in that crowd.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, and then there was this one.
Mm.
Yep.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
a neat one. This one with with the car flipped over, but that's how
Mhm.
she dresses every day, and they say that's offensive.
Right.
That one's beautiful.
And she has her head covered, but her hair in the front is sticking out. Like, okay, well,
Right.
that's a them problem. Like,
That's just, I can't even get my head around it. What the hell?
mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Like a few years ago, she wouldn't even have had to dress like that. The kids were wearing jeans and shirts and, everything. It wasn't until they put down the harder, stricter law. They changed the rules, and now they're mad that people don't want to obey them.
Exactly. So yeah. So I'm thinking it's quarter of. Maybe we should do some wrap up roundtable thingies. What do you think?
I think without a solution, I think we've covered it. Yeah, the best.
Exactly.
And it's going to be ongoing. So
it is. Unfortunately, there's not much we can do from our end, but hopefully, people with better ideas can come forward and, maybe organize these organizations to get together to help and try to get contact with the people inside.
Exactly. Because basically, like, we're not coming in here thinking we know all of it or the solution. But
Absolutely.
what we are doing is opening up the conversation for all of you.
Exactly. Shedding light on it.
Right. Go forward. Find out more. We're just giving you the information and talking about it, giving you a platform to speak on it and to talk to others about it and find out more. many of you in the chat gave us more information as we were going, and that's what it's all about, getting it out there.
Exactly.
Not being afraid to talk about it.
Absolutely. Speak up, speak out. We've said that before about the abortion thing too. When we had that show, when we had the Roe v. Wade show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, we're lucky. We can bring it up without being shot.
Well, that's it. But we can. That's what I mean. We can have these conversations.
And with that, right, we have an obligation, right, Amy?
Yes. So you're not going to shut me up about this one. We might have to do some updates and everything later on too. We'll keep up with it. We'll keep focused on it. We'll keep as we focus on other things that we need to cover. But yeah. But yep, definitely. So let's get started around the room. What do you think? Okay. All right. Well, we're going to start with Catchin Studios. Catchin, what's your thoughts on everything tonight?
I think that it's terrifying. I mean, this is revolt, and there's only a handful of ways this could go, and I have a feeling that it's going to end in violence. And there are people that are near and dear to me that are involved in this. And, Alex and Sam and Silk, if you guys hear this, I hope you're safe wherever you are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Stay safe. Definitely stay safe out there. Next up, we have Commander 401. Commander, what are your thoughts on everything tonight?
I just sat back and listened because I don't know a lot about it, but I do know what's going on in Iran has sucked, and it's pretty much sucked since the Ayatollah took over from the Shah. And luckily, the younger folks in Iran hopefully are not going to take it anymore. And maybe in a few years, we might have a modern, I do know that a lot of the young folks there, they actually do have a pro-Western bend, while the older folks have their heads shoved up their ass.
Right. Exactly. Thank you so much. Next up, we have Mipet 69. Mipet, what are your thoughts on this evening?
Well, you feel sort of helpless when you're just one person, isn't it?
It is.
But yeah, like you said, the conversation has to be had. It's like completely unacceptable. And Australia is a very multicultural place. Like we have people from everywhere, and we respect other people's cultures, but the morality police, holy Jesus, it's beyond, like my mind just is blown. But so I agree, it's just something that we have to talk about and get it out there. It's insane. But yeah, great conversation.
Thank you very much. And next up, we have DKG Custom. DKG, what are your thoughts on this evening?
It's Dick KG Dawson.
Dick KG. Yeah, there we go.
No, what can I say? It's absolutely fucking horrific. The thing is, it's so problematic because it's so distant from us. Cats. I have to call it Cats. I mean, Cats knows people there, and it's very personal to her. And it's so difficult for us to make it personal to us because I literally just don't know anyone there whatsoever. My heart goes out to them. I just hate to see this happening to anybody. Because we live in such a free society in the UK. Not a problem. People can say what they like, and they don't get gunned down. Some of them should be, but I won't go into that. But they should be shot. But just for being assholes. But no, these are people just fighting for rights, just simple rights.
Exactly.
And it's the most, and it's not even crazy rights. They're not asking for anything in particular. Right. It's just like, I just don't want to wear that. I want to wear something else. It's just like going to a restaurant and not being allowed in because you got to wear a tie. That's never happened to me ever. Maybe I just don't go to posh places, but that's never happened to me. But it's like that, but on the street.
Yeah.
You can't be on the street unless you're wearing this exact. No, it's not right. And these people, they've got to do something. But we got to try and find a way to help them. I'm not too sure how we do that, but
right, exactly.
All we can do is talk about it and support them in that way.
Well, that's exactly it, and that's why the conversation can start.
Yeah,
we don't have a solution, and that's how we come up with one, is just talking.
No, but thank you, Aimee, for bringing it up, and we should talk about it because, if we don't do it, nobody else will.
Exactly. That's it right there. Thank you. And next up, we have Claire S. Bear. Claire, what are your thoughts on everything?
Well, I think we've laid them all out exactly what we're actually thinking of it. My heart goes out to those that are connected to it on a more personal basis, like Catchin. I can't imagine what it must feel like to know people that are in danger or to have family over there. And I would just say that, I would be one of those people open to talk to anybody that needs to talk about any of this at any time, privately or publicly, because when you are in a situation where you don't have a solution and it gets that overwhelming, like something like this, the best thing to do is to bring it forward and speak about it with many people, to get many different voices involved to help you try to understand it and to help you try to do something about it. And all we can do right now is discuss it and get it out there. Not like we're like we know all and be all of it, but just to support those that are going through it with general intent to only support them any way we can find to do it.
Exactly.
And thank you, Aimee, for the platform, because these kind of conversations are important, and
absolutely,
I will always want to have them. So, and thank you all. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And I agree. Thank you. Next up, we have Dick Dawson. Dick, what are your thoughts on everything?
Well, change happens, societal change, right? Drastic change. And so, here's an example. This was, let me just scroll back and make sure. Yeah, Liam Wakefield sent this in just a minute ago there. But this is women in Iran before the whole regime.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So they can get it back. It may not be the easiest thing, and it may actually prove to be costly and tough, but they can do it because the whole populace is more powerful than any group who thinks they're in charge in the end. I do hope it's not ugly and nasty, but I mean, the regime should just start looking at giving up and relaxing, because it ain't going to work. The people will win. That's it. What do you think, Aimee?
Yeah, go ahead, Claire. You got your hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's just that picture struck me. I saw legs. I saw hair. I want to see the documentation where photos like that caused any problem in that country that they needed laws to get rid of it. Show us the proof. And then we'll shut up. Show me where those legs and that hair caused anything.
I got a little bit aroused.
Yeah. Oh my. Really, that's how they were dressing and everything was fine. No one was getting shot in the street.
Absolutely.
So show me your statistics, government of Iran, that showed that was so horrible. What did that do to your country that you had to do this? Seriously.
Absolutely.
All right. Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. No, it was no problem at all. I just, this is such a tough thing. And yes, this conversation, we don't have any solutions right now, but we can work towards them. We can talk through them. We can talk towards a solution. It's just, and Michael is right. Thank you, Michael. It's nothing short of female slavery, and thank you. That's what it is, and it's just really frustrating, and it's just, DKG, you have your hand up?
I was just going to say, if anybody's got any answers, put them in the comments in the video below.
Yeah, that's true.
And we'll take those comments, and we'll bring. And next time we come back to this subject, we'll bring those comments up.
Absolutely, and it'll spark a conversation too, and we can always post that conversation. So yes, exactly, and we can, more people that join in, the better. We can definitely have a conversation about it. I do want to thank everyone in the panel for coming, and thank you so much for helping me through, talk about this tonight, because it needed to be brought to the light. I noticed a lot of people had not been covering this, and it's shameful.
Yeah.
This is something that yes, it affects women in Iran, but it affects everybody. It's a human rights issue, because once they take one person's right away, who's next? There's that poem where they say, well, they come for me and there was nobody left. That's exactly what happens. We have to fight for every human to have rights, not just a select few. That's what it's all about too. So I do want to thank everyone in the chat for coming. You had a great conversation, great comments in the chat. And I want to thank all of you for that too. Thank you for your support and everything. And thank you for allowing me to have this show with it being so serious as it is. So thank you for that. So I just want to, after that, I just want to wish everybody a great night. Thank you so much. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
It's over. Go home.